Hey guys, Skypoint here. The Dark Angels have arrived at last. So as usual, we are going to take a run through all of their cards. Now, I haven't really gone through them myself. I've seen the cards from the previews only. Let's go ahead and get started. So as usual, we're going to start with their Warlords and then run through the cards from cheapest to most expensive. Let's begin with their epic rarity Warlord, Corswain. Actually, no, you know what? Let's do it in increasing order. Let's start with Nemio, their rare Warlord. So this will be the one most people get first, I guess. Let's take a look at him. 2 attack and 30 health, just like all the rare or green Warlords do. And his special ability here is you spend 2 energy and you give a random buff to 2 troops in your hand. So that's kind of interesting. This ability's usefulness is affected by hand size. In very late game, when you only have 1 or possibly 0 cards in hand, his ability is actually useless, which is sort of unique among the Warlords. But anyhow, he also has medium initiative. I think that's, so far for what I'm seeing here, it's probably not a big problem. But before we move on, let's listen to his voice chat lines, right? It's always fun. Let's listen to those ones.
Let's see if you've got what it takes.
I like that as a greeting.
If that's the best you've got, you best give up now.
Sarcasm is always good. I like that.
That was a good one.
A little bit lame.
This is only the beginning.
Okay, I can definitely see that being used. You put down a buffed troop and then say that.
Your threats are empty.
Oh, that's great. You just say that one after you've wiped out the dangerous troop the enemy put on the board.
Not so fast.
Okay, yeah, and that's also after the enemy thinks he's done a great move, you say not so fast and you make your counter move. Alright, so I like this guy. I think as far as the rare Warlords, green Warlords go, he looks pretty intriguing. Next up is Corswain, the epic or orange Warlord. So 2 attack and 35 health like most of the oranges. Now look at this, like all the recent oranges, he comes with a special card. We're going to look at that in a moment. But check out this ability, guys. 2 energy to gain +1 attack, and he can act again. This is going to make it very hard for your enemies in early game to keep board control. Like, this guy is the answer to the Ruinstorm Toads, right? You know when the Ruinstorm players play a 3 health Toad in their first turn? Corswain can always kill it. So that I like it. I think he's going to be popular for that reason alone. But let's take a look at his card, Duelist Triumph. So that's going to be showing up at the bottom over here. And there we go. Corswain gains first strike and +2 attack to your Warlord this turn. Oh wow. Yeah, that's going to be there to kill tough enemy units. This is going to be a card, probably not one which you play in your first turn, like people do with Raldoran. But you're going to sit on Duelist Triumph until you really desperately need to kill a high attack enemy unit and wipe it out with your Warlord. I like this. This guy looks very powerful for Orange Warlords. I think he's probably going to be, between Corswain and Nemio, Corswain will be much more popular by far. And hopefully he'll be in the store in a couple of days with any luck. And now the main man himself, Lionel Johnson. Let's see what he's up to. Oh wait, Corswain's chat lines, I nearly forgot. Haha, I'm just teasing you guys there, aren't I? Alright, so let's take a look.
Very well. A veritable opponent.
Okay, they're going in the very knightly voice, I guess.
How quickly the tide turns.
That's actually nice. You can use that one both when you suddenly turn the game around against your enemy or when he's done something unexpected and now you're outnumbered.
Needs to take a new perspective.
That's a little bit too philosophery.
The moons are crying.
What the heck is that?
Something's amiss.
A little.
I left my sword in a Primarch's spine.
Very niche. So this guy is a much better Warlord, but with much lamer chat lines than Nemio has. That's a shame. Oh well. Alright, now the main man, Lionel Johnson. Let's take a look at him. So, starting off, he's got a Reckoning, so we'll look at that in a second and check out what you have to do to trigger it. 2 energy, choose a wing and create a random troop from that wing in your hand. So this is a very similar to Fulgrim's ability, which adds cards to your hand. Tactics in the case of Fulgrim, this guy is basically looking like Troops Fulgrim instead. Alright, but in the meantime, let's go down and take a look at his Reckonings and what that does. Actually, before we do that, base form Lionel Johnson chat lines. Let's take a look.
Well met.
Alright, a nice warm voice, I guess.
I shall bring you to heal myself.
Okay, yeah, you can use that in a bunch of situations, either at the start of a match or when he's actually killed a powerful enemy troop.
You do not disappoint. This isn't over yet.
Okay, you do not disappoint. Useful. This isn't over yet.
This isn't over yet.
He just sounds a little bit bored when saying that. I would have liked it with some more anger.
We do not have much time.
You'll use that when the enemy is stalling and not taking their turn.
Consider the greater picture.
Okay, far too philosophical there. Alright, let's go down and take a look at his Reckoning. Alright, so his Reckoning starts at 15 energy. And, oh wow, look at that. Whenever a friendly troop completes a quest, we're going to talk about that in a moment, but apparently when you play a troop with quests, you choose a secret quest for them to do, like, take damage, to be targeted by tactics, stuff like that. And when they complete it, Lionel Johnson's Reckoning ticks down. So I have a feeling this is going to be one of the Reckonings which is easier to do. Now, I'll probably be called out on that when I get proved wrong. But I think this is probably going to be a relatively easy Reckoning. So you're going to see the Lion much more often. Let's take a look at this. 3 attack, 40 health. And then he has then 2 energy to give +1 to adjacent troops. And that's not this turn, it looks like a permanent buff. If you control no troops, draw a card. Can act again. Wow, okay, so you'll buff your neighboring troops and then attack. That's very powerful. I see him, given the fact that I think his Reckoning looks easy to pull off, I think we're going to see a lot of the Lion, and he's going to be pretty devastating. Alright, chat lines.
I bring judgment.
Yeah, that's good.
An ugly blade, much like its master.
I mean, there's not that many scenarios, I think, where that's great to play. You could obviously do it whenever the Word Bearers play the Sanax Blade, maybe. Zardulayak plays that. I don't know. It's a weird chat line.
You are perceptive.
That's alright.
We have nothing to hide.
That's okay-ish.
Just as we planned.
I do like that one, especially when someone plays a random card and something horrible, unexpected happens.
We are the first of the Imperium.
See, this is probably what you'll say right after you turn into the Lion. Anyway, alright, enough of that. Let's start going through their cards. Cheapest to most expensive, but we're starting with a legendary, Forbidden Secret. It's a legendary tactic. You always have it in your hand if you... Oh, wow, okay. So if you have this card in your deck, it always starts in your hand. Choose a quest for your Warlord and complete it to add Secret of War to your deck. What is Secret of War? Do I see that here anywhere? Is Secret of War existing? Okay, so that... Oops. Oh no. Okay, let's go back to the collection here. Secret of War. Okay, so that's a card we don't have. I wonder what that will do. Interesting. I like the idea of having a quest for your Warlord as well. Looks very engaging. Okay, Legionary Boreal. We saw these, I think, in the previews. Nice little card. Comes in at 1 energy, sneak attack and flank. Realistically, this guy's going to die at the beginning of the enemy's turn, but you'll be using this to do 1 point of damage immediately to an enemy troop, and hopefully benefit from some Raving Wing effects as well. Next is a tactic, always on duty. Heal 3 to a friendly troop. If it has completed a quest, then you choose a new one. Okay, that's cool. It gives you the option to get another quest for a troop after it's been done, and it heals them. I think that's going to be pretty powerful. Being able to heal up damaged troops is always very useful, and these quest effects from the Dark Angels are probably pretty strong. Brothers in Arm. Choose a wing. draw a troop from your deck of the chosen wing and give it +1. So, for example, if you pick this and you selected Raven Wing, you'll get Boreal, but now he's going to be 2 attack and 2 health, which starts to make him more devastating. Interesting card. Captain Nestoric, we saw this in my preview video. It just helps you keep your hand size healthy. I like that. Hunt them down. Nice artwork. Give flank to a Dark Angel's troop. If it is Raven Wing, it gains +1 attack and health. Very nice. Okay, so it's basically a buff to a troop. I guess it means the troop has to be on your board, and then you can immediately attack an enemy troop even if played this turn. I think that's a good one, as long as it's Raven Wing. Operator Decker. Let's take a look at this guy here. He's from the Dreadwing, and he has a quest, and when your quest is completed, you get to buff a random troop in your hand. Now this one starts to get a little bit situational, because it's hard to always be sure, I guess, you can pull off your quest at a time when you can complete it with a Dark Angel's troop in your hand. In my previous video, I did suggest that people will be making decks which might be which might have fewer neutral troops to take advantage of some other synergies, and this is another one of those. Because if this guy completes his deck, his quest, but you don't have any Dark Angels in your hand because maybe you wanted Jubak and Melgator and Duke Mordecai, those 3 might be in your hand, and his quest will do nothing for you. So this is one of those cards which is pushing Astartes heavy builds. Redemption we saw in the preview. Heal 2 to your Warlord, +1 for each Astartes you control. Again, just like before, this is really encouraging you to not use neutral troops in your deck. Stormstrike Eagle. We saw this one from the previews. Deal 2 damage. If you control a Raven Wing, also stun the target. So this is an example where Boreal will actually give great synergy, because for 3 energy, you put Boreal on the board, then you play Stormstrike Eagle, and now you can do 2 damage to a target and stun it, as well as 1 further point of damage to an enemy troop, by using a flank over here. Zaryan Squad is a common Raven Wing. He's unstoppable, and when his quest is complete, create a copy of this troop in your hand. Interesting. That's not bad looking. I just wonder, with 2 health, is he going to die before his quest is done? But honestly, 2 energy troops, most of them have 2 health, so maybe not so bad. Next up, we have Idravane Moore, Seneschal of the Deathwing, an epic troop. The Deathwing, he's got front lines, so he'll be there for protection. Quest, heal your Warlord by an amount equal to this troop's attack. So it starts at 3, but then if he's been buffed by various functions like Brothers in Arm or Nemio, it means that when Idravane Moore's quest is complete, he might potentially give your Warlord a huge bonus. Mastery of the Blade. So this is sort of like Corswain's special card, but now it applies to a troop instead for 1 turn. I like it. Again, it's going to help you to just wipe out enemy troops while keeping board control. It also looks like this faction has a lot more first strike than I think anyone else apart from Custodes. Mordwin Squad. They're from the Raven Wing. It's an energy ability. Deal damage equal to this troop's attack. So just like this guy gets more powerful in terms of his special abilities after his attack gets buffed, same with Mordwin Squad. And now you see a lot more synergy again, because you play these guys. They survive till their next turn, which is feasible with 4 energy. Then you play Mastery of the Blade on them, and you can use their energy ability. Potentially. Or you can maybe hopefully just play Mastery of the Blade and attack with them, but you know what I mean, you get options. Pelagor Marner, this guy is awesome! Look at this, choose a wing and give +1 attack and +1 health to all troops from that wing in your hand and your deck. So this is like Sheathed in Steel, which is a tactic for the Iron Warriors, except this puts a 3 attack, 3 health body on your board. And with only 3 attack, he can be Melgatored right back into your hand immediately afterwards for 5 energy. Potentially, if you feel you've got board control at that time. But this is a great effect, especially if you're trying to focus on one particular wing in your deck. Pelagor Marner will make those troops lethal. And for 3 energy, he's just worth playing for his stats alone, let alone his effect. Principia Bellicosa, we saw in my video. Choose a wing and your troops gain a buff. So imagine the synergy between Pelagor Marner and Principia Bellicosa, because you already have a deck which is built to be heavy on a particular wing. You put a couple of... early in the game, you played Pelagor Marner and those troops got buffed. Then you put them onto the board, and then you later while they're on the board, you play Principia Bellicosa and you give them a huge bonus further. So this is going to be one of the key cards, I think, to allow the Dark Angels to start steamrollering over their enemies. Prisoner Custody. This is the Dark Angels card I am looking forward to using the most. Imagine this. You know when Conrad Curse turns into the Night Haunter and you're struggling to stop him from going invisible repeatedly while you build up a board presence? Put Conrad in prison, and now he cannot attack anymore until he receives damage. So you can buy time for yourself, either by crippling a really powerful enemy unit, or the enemy warlord, until you can build up enough troops to deal with it, and that is very important for a troop-focused faction like the Dark Angels. This is going to be one of the most important cards in Dark Angels decks. I don't see anyone building a Dark Angels deck without this, as long as they have the card. Seraphis Bike. These guys are from the Raving Wing as well. These are your anti-stealth, but they come with a neat energy ability. Return to your hand. So that's going to be powerful, and I'd love to see that on more of the anti-stealth troops. It's great being able to wipe out invisibility, but there's a lot more ways in this game for to become invisible than to remove it. Seraphis Bikes is an exciting new development in my opinion. Anti-stealth unit which can come back to your hand and be played again. Israfel. Love the artwork. Chief Librarian Israfel. Choose a wing. Reduce by 2 the cost of troops from that wing in your hand. Incredible ability. Not bad stats. He's got excellent health for 4 energy and slightly below average attack. What do we have next? Phalanx Elite. This is a troop. It's from the Deathwing. Choose a wing and add +1 to troops from that wing in play and in your hand. So when these guys are on the board, they're buffing troops on the board and in your hand, as long as they're from a single wing, which again is encouraging focuses on 1 wing decks, or 1 or 2 wing decks. Swift Rat Speeder. Swift Rat Land Speeder. This is from Raven Wing. It's got flanks. It's not as great, I think, as the Raven Guard's Land Speeder, which is 6 attack, 4 health. But the Raven Guard ones also remove stealth, but costs a lot more. And this being a Raven Wing troop, it's going to benefit from troop synergies, from wing synergies as well. So it's interesting. I think it's one of the lower damage land speeders in game. I'm not sure. The Unbroken Bow. This is a card draw and a buff. A little bit situational, because although this card is great if you play it while you have lots of troops in hand, it's kind of slow. Like, it's very expensive. It's like Training Cage, but it draws a card and it only affects Astartes. I just feel the energy cost here is too high for it to be a truly great card, especially when the Dark Angels have a lot cheaper ways or more effective ways of giving buffs to troops. So I don't see the Unbroken Vow being used that much. Zacharus Interrupters. So we saw this in the previews. They're from the Dreadwing. Very powerful quest ability. Deal 5 damage to a random enemy troop. Oops. Ignore my timer over there. Deal 5 damage to a random enemy troop. And it's a shame it's random. And once we see what the quests are, we'll get a bit more insight here. But their stats themselves are average for 4 energy, a little lower health than I'd like to see. There's too many ways to kill a 3 energy troop, but I guess if they survive, or if they've managed to get buffed on health, they'll be very powerful when both in terms of their base stats, but especially when completing their quest. I think from what I heard, your quest gets completed even if you die while doing it, so maybe if coming in with 3 health, if you play them with the quest to take damage from a tactic or get destroyed by a tactic, whatever, maybe that'll be worth it for them to deal out 5 damage to a random enemy troop, because that's a lot and it can kill most things around 4 energy. Astroveil we saw in my preview. Nothing much more to add over here, except this is a handy little effect, but it's also pushing you towards Astartes focused decks and not neutral troops, because or frankly even vehicles, because it only buffs Astartes. But the nice thing about this guy is you get a guaranteed buff when he hits the board, as well as a potential further buff each time he kills a unit. What's next? Dreadwing Proctor. So he's from the Dreadwing, obviously, and he's got an area damage quest. So he's essentially one of your anti-stealth dudes. For that reason alone, I think he's going to be pretty popular. Average stats for the cost, so you're not really losing out anything by throwing him in your deck. A Scatin Imperative. Deal 2 damage to all enemies. For each unit killed, draw a card. Oh my god, this is Rain of Fire on steroids, guys. Incredible. Area damage, so it's anti-stealth, and with a fantastic side effect that each time you kill a unit, you'll draw a card. I love it. I absolutely love it. Next, another legendary, Knight Praetor Ramiel. So, awesome rally ability. This is actually kind of interesting, because on its own, his ability is nothing to write home about, but there's so many Dark Angels cards which will actually be buffing troops or buffing things in your hand that he can become lethal by the time he hits the board. And I just realized I missed out Lexicon of Glory over here. Deal 4 damage to an enemy or heal 4 to a friendly troop. Incredibly flexible card. That is excellent. You will want to include this because you can use it both offensively and defensively, so it's going to make a huge difference. So love that card. Got to include it. Knight Praetor Ramiel. He's great as long as you've got buff focused builds for your deck. If you haven't got a buffing deck, then you probably don't want to include this guy. Alright, how many cards do we have left? We've got a couple more. Untitled Terminators. This is one of your frontline units from the Deathwing, and their quest is healing troops. Not bad. Below average stats, they have frontline, and depending on what type of quests are available, if there's quests to get completed by taking damage, as a frontline troop, that might be worthwhile. So, healing, and that heals everything you have on the board, so the more troops on the board, the more effect you get out of this guy. Not a bad card, I just feel there might be better ones out there. I mean, his stats are very non-thrilling. So, he's okay, I guess. Brother Titus. We saw this guy in previews. He's got pretty terrible stats. Well above average health, but very low attack for 6 energy until his quests get completed. We'll need to see the quests again. I keep saying that, but unless you do his quest, he's not that great at all. He's also a 6 energy unit that can be easily Melgatored when he hits the board. So I think you're not going to put him in. He's also not from any particular wing, so he doesn't help from that point of view either. I think this is a card you'll see in events and in players who don't have a great Dark Angels collection yet. Oatsworn Terminators. Okay, look at these guys. Also a frontline troop, also below average attack, but they do have alright health for 6 energy, and a very useful first strike ability. On their own, they're not looking that great, but there's so much buffing in the Dark Angels deck that I think by the time these guys hit the board, they're going to have a respectable amount of health, and with a 5 or more attack with first strike, they're going to be wrecking people's day. And of course, unlike Custodes units with first strikes, there's no Sentinel effect here. Alright, let's keep going here. Onyx 03 Sabre. This is a Ravenwing tank. Deals damage when you rally. And this is interesting because this is synergy with a different wing. This looks like it's trying to encourage you to make decks which are a combination of Ravenwing and Dreadwing. But if you do, it's a whopping 5 damage on rally, which is powerful. But it's very conditional because you have to have a Dreadwing troop first as well as a Ravenwing. Take a look quickly and just see. If I look for Dreadwing troops, I guess the cheapest one is Operator Decker. So if you, for 8 energy, you could put Decker on the board and then drop Onyx 03 Sabre to do 5 points of rally damage, as well as get 2 troops onto the board. Arquater Bombard. This is from the Dreadwing. Deal 4 damage to a random enemy unit and adjacent units. Okay. So this is always going to do a minimum, is this going to damage a minimum of 2 units if it picks the target at the end of the enemy line, and potentially 3 units, dealing a decent amount of damage to them. Below, it's got above average health for the cost, well below average attack. I just don't like it because it's a great ability, but it takes up a big chunk of energy. I'd be willing to try it out, but it just feels like if you play this guy on curve, the next turn you're doing up to 12 points of damage, but maybe 8 points of damage to a random enemy, so it might not be hit the guy you really need it to hit, and then you only have 4 energy left that next turn. So I think this is great in theory, but in practice there's too many situations when it's not going to be worth it. There might be too many enemy troops on the board to benefit from doing random damage, and its base direct damage is not great for 7 energy, so I don't like it. I would rather have Onyx 03 Sabre, frankly, because you get to choose where you apply even that 2 points of damage to. Deathwing Protocol. This is a tactic. Oh wow, okay. This is their hard removal tactic, coming in at 7 energy. Destroy an enemy troop and buff 2 random troops in your hand. I love that. I think it's great. So yes, yes, yes please to Deathwing Protocol. Put 2 of them in both my, in all my Dark Angels decks. Knight Champion. This is interesting. 7 energy, below average attack, below average health, but a quest which will reduce the cost of all Astartes in your hand by 2. So the quest effect is nice, but I think for 7 energy it's below average, and it only is useful if you've got at least 2 Astartes in your hand, I think. Well, I mean, it's only useful if you have Space Marines in your hand, which by 7 energy you may or may not, depending on how your game's been going. You may not have enough Marines in your hand to benefit from this. So I think there's too many ifs on this card to make it truly great. So I'm going to chalk this up as an event play card only. Deathwing Companions. Deathwing really look like the frontline units for the Dark Angels. But give +2 to troops you put in play. Not bad. I mean, the downside is sub-average stats for their cost, although they have front line. If they survive until the next turn, your troops are going to get super powerful. Now that's a big if, because as a frontline troop, they're going to be taking a battering. I suppose what you could do is play escape vents onto them, but then you get no frontline benefit. Of course, if you've been buffing them up through the match, they might be really deadly by the time they hit the board. I like it overall. I mean, it's a front line and the enemy absolutely has to throw themselves into it, otherwise the next turn your troops are going to be lethal, so I'm giving this guy a thumbs up. Alright, we're into the final 5 cards. We have Venerable Aramis. This is a high cost vehicle. It's not going to be used. Coming in at 8 energy with only 7 health. And when its quest is completed, it destroys a random enemy. There's just far too much over there. Yes, it's got great attack values, but I just think that it's got too low health. It doesn't have enough for protection, and it has a random effect quest, a random quest effect. So I don't like this at all. Again, this is going to be an event card, and or players who don't have much of a collection and don't have a choice. Alright, at 9 energy, Knight Cenobium. These are Astartes from the Deathwing. No front line here. But now this is much better. Their quest effect is not random. Instead, they gave a buff to all of your Astartes. That's incredible. They've got great stats for 9 energy. And a fantastic quest impact, so I like it. Would have been great if they came with some other trick as well. Right now the enemy could try to ignore them for a turn and hope they win. Interesting. But yeah, I like their Their stats are good for the cost, and they have a very neat quest effect. Final 3 cards. Alright, Invincible Reason. This is amazing. Lower the cost of up to 3 Astartes in your hand to 0 for this turn. So it allows you to play up to 3 Space Marines, and I guess you get to choose which 3 from your hand onto the board. So if you have 2 Knight Cenobiums and a Deathwing Companions in your hand, you get to play 18 plus 8, 26 points of troops for just 10 energy. That's pretty cool. Having said that, it's very subjective, because if you only have 3 2-cost units, then it's pointless. But it could potentially lead to some very fun combos. I'd like to see how the Dark Angels matches go before making conclusions on this, but Invincible Reason could turn matches around easily. But that's not all. Check this out. The Hexagrammaton. Put in your hand 1 friendly troop from each wing that died this game. They cost 0. So this is an interesting tactic. It sort of is like Invincible Reason, except you don't get to choose which cards come to your hand. And it encourages you to play troops from all 3 wings in your deck, as opposed to focusing on 1 wing, because at the end of the match it allows you to pull in 3 troops in play for 10 energy. I actually don't like it though, because you don't get to choose what's coming, so you might end up with 3 cheap troops for 10 energy, which is not great. Having said that, if you've run out of cards in your hand and this is the only card you have, then being able to just dump 3 troops onto the board might be exactly what you need. But I don't know. I don't think the Hexagrammaton is that great. And even Invincible Reason, the fact that you need to have 3 troops in your hand in your 10 energy turn, and they should ideally have costs which add up to 10 or much more than 10, it just is asking for a lot. So I'm actually not that excited about Invincible Reason the more I think about it, and I'm definitely not excited about the Hexagrammaton. It's a little bit disappointing to me to see these as the high-end tactics. Very last card, actually no, we have to talk about the counterattack as well, but we have their Venerable Coriolanus over here. He's from the Dreadwing. It's a common card, 10, 10, 10 average stats, but what I love here is he has a shield. That's going to make him a little bit harder to kill, and usually I don't like the 10 energy troops, but coming in with a shield is going to make him more of a problem for your enemy. And it looks like he's got a fantastic quest effect, area damage, so I actually think you might see him in play. Alright, lastly, the counterattack. Your next Astartes this turn costs 1 less. Yes, that is fantastic, because the Dark Angels are going to be so Astartes focused. So it allows you to play in your first turn one of the 3 energy troops, such as dropping Pelagor Marner in your first turn to permanently buff your troops. It also gives you the options to play Idravane Moors or Morduin Squad down very early, which can help to turn the match around. Alright, so let's go back. Now it's a run through the Dark Angels. I love what I'm seeing here. Honestly, I see them bringing in a lot of the strengths of the Custodes, especially with having lots of First Strike without the drawback of Sentinel. So these guys, I feel, are looking like one of the most powerful factions in the game. Stay tuned, guys. Actually, by the time I post this video, I will hopefully have done a live stream of trying out the current store deck for Nemio and seeing how the Dark Angels play. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of the Dark Angels. If you're not subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. I'm going to be making a lot more videos on the Dark Angels over the next couple of days. Alright, so until I meet you on the battlefield, bye for now everyone.